Ambassador Minho stepped off the transport ship onto the gleaming metal floor of the space station. His black suit was perfectly pressed, and he carried a small briefcase containing Earth's gifts for the alien leaders. Behind him walked his assistant, Unji, who looked nervous but tried to hide it. The space station was enormous. The walls stretched up so high that Minho could barely see the ceiling. Strange lights floated in the air without any support, casting rainbow colors on everything. The air smelled different here, like metal and something sweet that made his nose tingle. "Stay close," Minho whispered to Unji as they followed a floating robot down a long corridor. "Remember, we represent all of humanity today." They had practiced this moment for months. Earth had finally made contact with aliens 3 years ago when a strange ship appeared near Mars. The aliens had been polite but distant, agreeing to meet only after humanity proved they could travel between stars. Now, after years of preparation, Earth was ready to join the galactic community. The corridor opened into a massive chamber filled with the most incredible sight Minho had ever seen. Dozens of different alien species sat in tall chairs arranged in a circle. Some looked like giant insects with too many arms. Others were covered in fur and had long tails. A few looked almost human, but with purple skin and extra eyes. At the center of the room sat 3 creatures that were clearly the leaders. One looked like a walking tree with silver bark. Another seemed to be made of living crystal that changed colors as it moved. The third was the strangest of all, a floating ball of light that spoke without having a mouth. "Humans of Earth," the ball of light said, its voice filling the entire chamber. "You have come far from your small world. We are the Council of Worlds. We rule this galaxy and keep peace between all species." Minho stepped forward and bowed politely. "Honored leaders, I am Minho, ambassador from Earth. We come in friendship, hoping to learn from your wisdom and share our own knowledge with you." He opened his briefcase and took out a small device. "We have brought gifts, our music, our art, our science. We hope these offerings show our desire for peaceful cooperation." The crystal creature made a sound like breaking glass, which the translation device in Minho's ear told him was laughter. How quaint! A young species bringing trinkets to their superiors. Minho felt his stomach drop. This was not going as planned. The tree-like leader leaned forward, its branches creaking. "Human, you speak of cooperation, but you misunderstand your position. Species do not join the council as equals. They earn their place through service and obedience." "I don't understand," Minho said carefully. "We seek membership in your galactic community. Earth wants to be part of something greater than itself." The ball of light pulsed brighter. "And you shall be human, but first your world must accept certain conditions. Your population is far too large. You will reduce your numbers to no more than 2 billion beings. Your weapons technology is too advanced for a young species. You will surrender all military research to our oversight. Your expansion into space ends now. Earth will remain in its single system unless we grant permission otherwise." The chamber fell completely silent. Minho felt Unji's sharp intake of breath behind him. These weren't terms for membership. They were demands for surrender. "Furthermore," the crystal creature continued, "Earth will provide tribute. Your planet is rich in rare metals we require. You will mine and deliver these resources as payment for our protection." Minho's diplomatic training told him to stay calm, to negotiate, to find middle ground. But his human heart rebelled against these impossible demands. He thought of the 8 billion people back home who had watched him leave with such hope in their eyes. "Honored Council," he said slowly, "these terms are not acceptable. Humanity seeks partnership, not slavery. We will gladly share our knowledge and resources through fair trade, but we cannot accept conditions that would destroy our freedom." The tree leader's branches rustled in what might have been anger. "You refuse our generous offer?" "We reject demands that would end our independence as a species." Minho replied firmly. "Earth has a right to determine its own future." The aliens began making various sounds. Clicking, hissing, grinding noises that the translator couldn't interpret. Minho realized these were expressions of shock and outrage. Apparently, no species had ever said no to the council before. The ball of light grew so bright that Minho had to shield his eyes. Foolish human. You come here believing you can negotiate with your superiors. You offer friendship to those who require only obedience. Remove them, the crystal creature commanded. Place them in detention until they learn proper respect. As alien guards began moving toward them, Minho met Unji's frightened eyes. In that moment, both humans understood a terrible truth. They had come to the stars hoping to find friends among civilized beings. Instead, they had discovered that civilization in the galaxy meant something very different than it did on Earth. The dream of peaceful coexistence was ending before it had truly begun. The trial room was cold and filled with bright lights that hurt Minho's eyes. He sat in a metal cage that buzzed with electricity, while hundreds of alien creatures watched from seats that rose up like a giant stadium. His hands were bound behind his back with chains that felt too heavy for normal metal. Unji sat in a different section marked for observers. She kept trying to catch his eye, but the guards had warned her not to speak or move. Her face was pale and scared, but she held her small recording device tightly in her hands. The three council leaders floated above the crowd on a platform made of light. The crystal creature spoke first, its voice echoing through the chamber like breaking glass. The human called Minho stands accused of insulting the council's authority. He refused our generous offer of membership and showed dangerous pride that threatens galactic peace. Minho wanted to laugh at the word generous, but his throat felt too dry. Around the room, alien voices buzzed and clicked in what sounded like agreement. Some species nodded their many heads, while others waved tentacles or wings. Your species is young and stupid, the tree leader said, its branches moving like angry fingers. You think you can come here and make demands like equals. This galaxy has rules. Older species lead, younger species follow. This is how peace is maintained. The ball of light pulsed brighter. We have decided to make an example of this human. Let all species see what happens to those who refuse the council's wisdom. Minho's stomach dropped. I am a diplomat, he said loudly. I carry papers that protect me under your own laws. You cannot harm an ambassador. The crystal creature made that glass-breaking laugh again. Laws are for civilized species. Humans have proven they are not civilized by refusing to submit to proper authority. A vote was called. One by one, the alien species raised their hands, claws, or tentacles. Minho watched in growing horror as the count climbed higher and higher. 39 species voted for his execution. Only 8 voted against it. The decision is made, announced the ball of light. The human will die by plasma dissolution. His death will be broadcast to all known worlds as a warning to other rebellious species. Guards dragged Minho from his cage to a raised platform in the center of the room. A clear box made of energy surrounded him, trapping him inside like an insect in amber. He could see everything around him perfectly, but he could not move or escape. Unji was crying now, but she kept her recording device pointed at him. Minho realized she was sending everything back to Earth through the quantum communication system. His people would see this. His wife Daun would see this. His children would see their father die. The execution machine began to hum with power. Minho felt his skin starting to tingle and burn as invisible energy waves hit his body. The pain was unlike anything he had ever experienced. But he forced himself to stand straight and look directly into Unji's recording device. To my people on Earth, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber speakers. The aliens had not turned off his translator because they wanted his words to be understood across the galaxy. I came here hoping to find friends among the stars. Instead, I found bullies who rule through fear. The energy waves grew stronger. Minho's uniform began to smoke, and his skin turned red like a bad sunburn. But he kept talking, knowing these might be the last words any human would speak to the galaxy. Remember that we offered peace and they chose murder. Remember that we came with gifts and they demanded slavery. Remember that when someone shows you who they really are, believe them the first time. The pain was getting worse now. Minho could feel his body beginning to break apart at the smallest level, molecule by molecule. But his mind was still clear, and his voice was still strong. Tell Daun that I love her more than all the stars in the sky. Tell my children that their father died free, and that no alien will ever make them bow down like slaves. The plasma field reached its full power. Minho's body was dissolving, but somehow he managed one last message. His eyes never left the camera as he spoke words that would echo across human space for generations. Tell Earth that we are not alone in the universe, but we are alone in valuing freedom. Tell them that these creatures fear us because they know we will never break. And tell them, his voice cracked with pain but remained firm. Tell them that humanity bows to no one. The energy field completed its work. Minho disappeared in a flash of light, leaving only empty air where Earth's first and last ambassador to the stars had stood. In the observation section, Unji whispered into a recorder through her tears. Message sent. Earth must know. They killed him. They killed our diplomat. She pressed a hidden button on her device. Activate emergency protocol. War recommendation. Approved. The signal raced toward Earth at the speed of light, carrying with it the end of humanity's dream of peaceful contact and the beginning of something far more terrible. President Sung-min sat in the emergency meeting room deep beneath the Capitol building. Around the long table sat the leaders of every nation on Earth, their faces lit by the glow of computer screens showing the terrible footage from space. The video had arrived 6 hours ago, and it had changed everything. On the main screen, Minho's final words played again in slow motion. The president had watched it 20 times already, but each viewing made his anger burn hotter. The alien creatures had murdered Earth's ambassador, while he begged them to remember he was protected by their own laws. The people are rioting in every major city, reported General Hyojin from her seat at the president's right side. They want blood. They want revenge. And honestly, sir, so do I. The president nodded slowly. Through the thick walls of the bunker, he could hear the sound of millions of voices chanting in the streets above. The chant was simple and angry. Make them pay! Make them pay! What are our military options? Asked the president. General Hyojin pressed a button, and the screen changed to show technical drawings of spaceships. For the past 3 years, while our diplomats talked about peace, we've been preparing for war. We learn from history, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. The ships on the screen looked nothing like the smooth, peaceful vessels most humans had seen in movies. These were ugly, brutal machines covered in weapons and armor. They had names like Earth's Revenge and Diplomat's Honor and Minho's Fury. We built them in secret shipyards hidden in the asteroid belt, the general continued. The aliens think they're just mining stations. We have 47 battle fleets ready to launch, each one carrying weapons that these council creatures have never seen before. President Sung-min stood up and walked to the window. Even through the thick glass, he could see the glow of fires burning in the city as angry crowds destroyed anything that reminded them of the aliens. How many people know about these ships? Only the military commanders and the workers who built them. General Hyojin replied. About 50,000 people total. They've all sworn oaths of secrecy. The president turned back to face the room full of world leaders. The council made a mistake. They thought killing Minho would make us afraid. Instead, they've made us angry. And they're about to learn that angry humans are the most dangerous thing in the universe. He pressed a button on the table, and cameras began broadcasting his words to every human settlement from Earth to the furthest colonies. Citizens of humanity, he began, his voice steady despite the rage burning in his chest. 6 hours ago, we watched our ambassador die. Minho went to the stars carrying our hopes for peace. The Galactic Council answered with murder. On screens around the world and across human space, 8 billion people stopped what they were doing to listen. In the asteroid mining stations, workers floated in zero gravity while watching their president declare humanity's future. In the colonies on Mars and Europa, families gathered around communication devices to hear Earth's response to the ultimate insult. The Council believes they can frighten us into submission by killing our diplomats, the president continued. They think we are weak because we offered friendship. They think we are helpless because we asked for peace. They are wrong on all counts. General Hyojin smiled grimly as she watched the president's speech. She had been waiting 3 years for this moment, ever since the first alien ship appeared and Earth's leaders realized they might not be friendly. Therefore, the President announced, his voice growing stronger with each word, I hereby declare the activation of Protocol 7. The Galactic Council has proven itself to be a clear and present danger to human survival. They have murdered our representative in cold blood and threatened our species with slavery or death. The camera zoomed in on the President's face, showing eyes that burned with cold fury. We offered them peace, and they chose war. So be it. From this moment forward, the United Earth Government authorizes all necessary actions to eliminate the Council and every species that supports them. Around the world, military bases that had been disguised as research stations suddenly came alive with activity. Spacecraft that had been hidden for years began powering up their engines. Soldiers who had trained in secret for this exact moment began loading weapons that violated every treaty on civilized warfare. The Council wanted to see what happens when humanity is threatened with extinction, the President said, his final words carrying to every human ear across 100 light-years of space. They're about to find out. The broadcast ended, but the President wasn't finished. He turned to General Hyojin and spoke words that would echo through history. Launch everything we have. Show them what humans do to alien bullies who murder our people. Within an hour, the first battle fleets were moving toward the edge of human space. The ships carried names that would soon become legendary throughout the galaxy. Righteous Anger, Never Again, and leading them all, Ambassador Minho, humanity's newest and deadliest weapon. The age of human diplomacy was over. The age of human warfare had begun. Admiral Jae-sung stood on the bridge of the battleship Ambassador Minho as his fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the alien military base. Through the giant windows, he could see the enemy station floating in the darkness, a massive structure that had frightened dozens of species into surrender over the centuries. Admiral, his second-in-command, Captain Sujin, reported from her station, enemy fleet detected. 68 ships total. They're sending us a message. Put it through, Jae-sung ordered, his voice calm despite the rage burning in his chest. The main screen flickered, showing a tall alien creature covered in blue scales. Its voice was filled with arrogance as it spoke through the translation system. Human vessels, you have entered Council space without permission. Surrender immediately, and we will make your deaths quick and painless. Jae-sung almost laughed. The aliens still thought this was about negotiation. Signal all ships, he commanded. Weapons free. Target everything that moves. No prisoners, no mercy, no survivors. The alien on the screen looked confused. Human, you do not understand. We are the Council Defense Force. We have destroyed entire civilizations. Your small fleet cannot dash. Jae-sung cut off the transmission. Show them what humans do to bullies, he said quietly. The Council fleet moved toward them in perfect formation, their ships gleaming and beautiful like works of art. Their weapons, designed for intimidation and crowd control, began firing pretty beams of colored light at the human vessels. The human response was nothing like what the galaxy had ever seen before. Instead of fancy energy beams, human ships fired chunks of metal traveling at incredible speeds. Instead of trying to disable enemy vessels, they aimed to completely destroy them. Instead of following the polite rules of galactic warfare, they fought like their species had fought for thousands of years, with deadly efficiency and no regard for their own safety. The first Council ship exploded in a ball of fire when a human kinetic missile punched through its shields like they were made of paper. The aliens had never seen weapons like this, crude, brutal devices that used simple physics instead of elegant energy fields. Admiral, Captain Sujin reported, the enemy is trying to jam our communications. Doesn't matter, Jae-sung replied, watching as another alien ship disappeared in a nuclear fireball. We don't need to talk to coordinate. Every human captain knows what to do. This was the Council's second shock. Human ships didn't need constant communication to work together. Each captain could think and act independently, making decisions in seconds that alien committees would debate for hours. The battle turned into a massacre within minutes. When the human ship Soul's Pride took heavy damage and began to drift, its captain didn't retreat or ask for help. Instead, he aimed his dying vessel at the largest enemy battleship and activated the self-destruct system. Captain Kim Jong sends his regards. The dying captain broadcasts on all frequencies as his ship rammed into the alien vessel. The explosion turned both ships into expanding clouds of gas and metal. The alien fleet commander, watching his forces being destroyed by creatures he had expected to swat away like insects, sent a desperate message to his superiors. Request immediate reinforcements. Human tactics unknown. They fight like madmen. They seem to prefer death to defeat. But reinforcements would not arrive in time. Human ships swarmed through the alien formation like wolves attacking sheep. They used tactics the Council had never seen: ramming attacks, suicide runs, weapons that learned and adapted during battle. Admiral Jae-sung watched an alien cruiser try to surrender by powering down its weapons. No surrender, he ordered his gunners. Minho didn't get the chance to surrender. Neither do they. The surrendering ship vanished in a flash of nuclear fire. Within 3 hours, the Council's forward base was nothing but wreckage and radiation of their entire fleet. Nothing remained but glowing debris that would drift through space for centuries as a warning to other species. But the most terrifying thing for the watching galaxy wasn't the weapons or the tactics. It was the way humans fought. Other species went to war reluctantly, as a last resort. Humans seemed to embrace it like an art form they had been perfecting for millennia. As the human fleet prepared to jump to their next target, Admiral Jae-sung broadcast a message that would be heard across the galaxy. This is Admiral Jae-sung of the Human Defense Force. We came to your council seeking peace. You answered with the murder of our diplomat. Now you will learn what humans have always known: that the only way to guarantee peace is to completely destroy those who would take it from you. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, leaving behind a dead system and a galaxy that was finally beginning to understand what they had awakened. The Council had expected humanity to beg for mercy after seeing their ambassador die. Instead, they had created an enemy that would show none. On Earth, President Sung-min watched the battle reports with grim satisfaction. "How many more targets?" he asked General Hyo-jin. 46 Council systems, sir. But after today's demonstration, I suspect many will surrender without a fight. The president nodded. Good. But remember, no species that participated in Minho's murder gets mercy. They wanted to teach the galaxy a lesson about respecting the Council. Instead, they're going to teach the galaxy about respecting humanity. 2 years after Minho's death, Administrator So-young walked through the ruins of the former Galactic Council headquarters. The massive building on Nexus Prime had once been a symbol of alien power stretching across the galaxy. Now it was being turned into something completely different, a memorial for all the species who had suffered under Council rule. Where the execution chamber once stood, workers were building a simple monument. The names of every diplomat murdered by the Council over 2,000 years were carved into black stone. Minho's name was at the top, but thousands of others followed. Representatives from species that had tried to resist and been made examples of. Administrator. Her assistant Youngwoo reported, "The Altrian delegation has agreed to join the Human Commonwealth. That brings our total membership to 52 species." So-young nodded, checking the daily reports on her tablet. The war had ended not with humanity's destruction, as the Council had predicted, but with the Council's complete elimination. Some alien species had fought alongside their former masters and shared their fate. Others had surrendered immediately when they saw what happened to those who resisted. Most had chosen the third option: membership in humanity's new galactic government. "What about the Zarathi?" she asked, remembering the insect-like species that had been particularly cruel during Minho's trial. "Their home world is a radioactive wasteland," Youngwoo replied quietly. "They chose to fight to the end rather than surrender." Admiral Tae-min's fleet granted their wish. So-young felt no sadness at this news. The galaxy was learning a simple lesson. There were consequences for murdering diplomats. The Human Commonwealth operated on principles the old Council had never understood. Treat others with respect, govern yourselves as you see fit, and harm no member species. Those who followed these rules found humans to be generous allies. Those who broke them learned why humanity had conquered the galaxy in less than 2 years. "The memorial ceremony is ready," Youngwoo continued. "Representatives from 63 species have come to pay their respects. So Young walked to the ceremony platform where thousands of beings from across the galaxy had gathered. They came not because humanity forced them to attend, but because they wanted to honor the man whose death had accidentally freed them all from the Council's oppression. In the front row sat Doon, Minho's widow, who had traveled from Earth with her 2 children. The little boy and girl held flowers they wanted to place on their father's memorial. Behind them stood former enemies who now called humans their protectors, and species that had never known war until humanity taught the galaxy what real conflict looked like. So Young stepped up to the speaking platform and looked out at the crowd. 2 years ago, she began, her voice carrying to every corner of the vast chamber, Ambassador Minho came to this place hoping to make friends among the stars. The council answered his offer of friendship with torture and death. The crowd listened in complete silence. Many of these aliens had been in the same chamber when Minho died, but they had been too afraid of the council to speak against the execution. Minho believed that different species could work together in peace. So Young continued. The council proved him wrong by showing that some species only understand violence. So we taught them our language. She gestured toward the memorial wall, where Minho's name glowed softly in letters that could be read in 40 different alien languages. The old council ruled through fear and oppression. They demanded tribute and obedience from species they considered inferior. The human commonwealth operates on a different principle. Earn respect by giving respect. A young alien from the crowd, one of the furry species that look almost like earth cats, raised a tentacle-like appendage. Administrator, why do humans allow us to govern ourselves? The council always install their own rulers on conquered worlds. So Young smiled at the question. Because we learned something the council never understood. People fight harder for freedom than they ever do for masters. We don't want slaves or servants. We want allies who choose to stand with us because they believe in what we're building together. An older alien, one of the crystal beings who had once served the council, spoke up. But what happens if we disagree with human decisions? What if we want to leave the Commonwealth? Then you leave. So Young replied simply. The only requirement for membership is that you don't attack other member species. Beyond that, you're free to live as you choose. We're not the council. We don't force anyone to stay. The ceremony continued with a moment of silence for all the galaxy's martyrs. Representatives from dozens of species placed flowers and small gifts at the base of Minho's memorial. His children, now old enough to understand what their father had accomplished, stood proudly beside their mother as aliens they had never met thanked him for his sacrifice. As the ceremony ended, So Young reflected on how much the galaxy had changed. The Council's rigid hierarchy had been replaced by a loose alliance of equals. Species that had been enemies for centuries now worked together on joint projects. Trade flowed freely between worlds that had once been forbidden to contact each other. But most importantly, no diplomat had been murdered in 2 years. The galaxy had learned that killing ambassadors carried a price too terrible to pay. As the crowd began to disperse, Dune approached So Young with her children. He would be proud, she said softly, looking up at her husband's name carved in stone. Minho always believed people could be better than they were. He just never imagined it would take a war to prove it. So Young nodded, watching as former enemies helped each other clean up after the ceremony. Maybe that's the real lesson, she replied. Sometimes peace can only be built on the ashes of those who would destroy it.